Brilliance Audio presents Jewish, a Plea by Matt Greene, performed by the author. I don't deserve this award, but then I have arthritis, and I don't deserve that either. Jack Benny. A Jew without a beard is better than a beard without a Jew. Yiddish proverb. Prologue. On the 22nd of January, 2017, around 1 in the afternoon, I became a parent. By then, my partner Imogen had been in labour for almost 36 hours. The first 10 or so of these hours had gone roughly to plan. Our midwife had suggested we write a plan to ensure we felt in control of the birth when it came. Originally, Imogen had wanted a home birth. She and all 3 of her siblings were born at home, deep in the countryside, where the nearest emergency unit was several hours away, but some small complications in her blood work meant she'd need to have antibiotics administered during the delivery. The amended plan, then, was to remain at home until the last moment, then go to a midwife-led suite at the hospital, possibly with a bathtub if one was available, for the final leg. The labour had started at 4 the previous morning, and we'd been up since 5, lighting candles and gently swaying to British sea power. As per the plan, I'd made Imogen cheese and tuna toasties and tea for the midwife, who'd arrived at 5:30 and parted not long after with some words of encouragement. Everything was going perfectly. We should get some rest and call her again when the contractions were a minute apart. By 11 o'clock, we were in an Uber on our way to the hospital, making small talk with a driver spectacularly incapable of reading a room. I'd called our delightful Welsh midwife when the contractions had sped up, and had the kettle on in readiness for a resumption of a discussion on her past life as an actor. But by 10:23 we were gathered in silence at the foot of our bed. Imogen was in it, looking anxious, and the midwife was over her, stethoscope in hand, looking anxiouser. She was struggling to hear a heartbeat. In the hospital, after a torturous period of waiting for a bed to become free, we were hurried through to the fluorescent-lit ward where Imogen was clamped to a bed and attached to a barrage of drips and monitors. Through one we could hear a faint heartbeat, an irregular, aquatic whomp that grew quieter and more skittish as the contractions intensified. A nurse was explaining something without the benefit of a soothing Welsh lilt, when suddenly a button was pressed, and within seconds the room was flooded with people in masks. Nurses, doctors, anaesthetists. Imogen looked up at me and squeezed my hand like a collapsing star. The most fearless person I know was afraid. A month earlier, I'd fielded a call from my dad. I was working on the umpteenth draft of a failing novel about contemporary Jewish identity and the legacy of the Holocaust and secular Jewish life, and was grateful for the distraction. We talked about the previous night's football game, work, as much politics as we could mutually stomach, before a pause bled down the line. My father and I have always been close. As I said in a toast at his wedding, he's been like a father to me, and I knew at once what the pause augured. We were about to broach a difficult subject. At the pause's edge, he dived straight in. This is a man who sends emails with blank bodies, the entire content contained within the subject line. There are 2 things we need to discuss, he told me. First thing, what are you thinking recircumcision? What's the second thing? I asked. Your grandfather's Hebrew name was Yeshua. I thought you'd want to know. I said nothing. It would mean a lot to me if you could include it somewhere in the name.